wrong. That's the button I want. There we go. I had a 50-50 shot at it.
Pinging it.
I know.
We're pinging this.
I didn't know that was a thing either. I'm gonna start. Sorry. You all set? All right, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. And we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Okay. All right, and if we could start with a roll call.
Vice Chair Branconi,
Present.
Committee Member Brennan,
Present.
Committee Member Cotter, no. Committee Member DeMeno,
Present.
Youth Member Mansfield,
Present.
Committee Member Newman,
Present.
Committee Member Wyrick,
Present.
Chair Lobsinger.
Present.
Thank you. Let the record show that Committee Member Cotter is not in attendance.
All right, next we're going to move on to the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda from the committee? What's that? Oh, okay. All right, can we have is there a motion to approve the agenda?
A motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
Roll call vote. We have Vice Chair Branconi,
Aye.
Committee Member Brennan,
Aye.
Committee Member DeMeno,
Aye.
Youth Member Mansfield,
Aye.
Committee Member Newman,
Aye.
Committee Member Wyrick,
Aye.
Chair Lobsinger.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
All right, next we're going to move on to public comment. At this time, members of the public may comment on any item not appearing on the agenda. It is recommended that you keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Under state law, matters presented under this item cannot be discussed or acted upon by the Traffic Safety Committee at this time. For items appearing on the agenda, the public will be invited to make comments at the time the item comes up for committee consideration. Upon being acknowledged by the chair, please step to the podium and speak into the microphone. Begin by stating and spelling your name. Do we have any public comment regarding anything not showing up on today's agenda?
I do.
All right.
You're on the agenda, okay. Good evening, my name is Mike Ciccone, last name is spelled S-Z-Y-K-O-W-N-Y. I live in 1396 East Napa Street in Sonoma, east of 8th Street East. The reason why I'm here tonight is to see about getting put on the May agenda an alternative to the speed hump that has been installed for the last 2 years on East Napa Street by the corner of 5th Street East and East Napa Street. Couple reasons is to revisit this is I think there's an alternative to taking care of the speed problem on that street without causing what's going on right now, which is, first of all, people swerving around the hump. Also, the reduce of your vehicle speed to actually navigate the hump, even though it's posted 25 miles an hour, that hump cannot handle a 25-mile speed limit for a car. I don't know if any of you have ever drove over that thing. We do every day, probably countless times. It's devastating to your vehicle. It just doesn't handle 25 miles an hour. Actually, I did a little bit of research on those humps, and I think it's required, or not required, but advise a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit over that hump, and it's posted at 25. So on the May agenda, I think we probably should try to discuss a stop sign at 5th Street East and East Napa Street. That situation persists around the valley here. I've seen it in other areas that does work. Because when you try to exit 5th Street East going toward town, there's the home on the southeast corner of that intersection that has a hedge that you can't see around very easily. And even though the speed limit is being reduced by that speed hump, maybe so, maybe not, it's still hard to get out of that intersection without looking around that hedge. And I think a stop sign would be very appropriate there. Then we can get rid of that speed hump, which is a problem in itself with reasons I just stated. The other issue is at that speed hump, if you are trying to reduce your speed at that speed hump, there's been many situations where I've heard from other people, they've almost been rear-ended because people aren't expecting you to slow down so quickly. And so that, again, presents another problem with that hump being where it's at. If you were to keep the hump or wanted to keep that hump in existence, I would suggest having it rebuilt like the one on Level Valley Road at the city limit sign, because it's a lot more easier to go over that hump than it is with this prefab hump that they just secured to the pavement. It's got like an 1.5 inch rise you have to actually jump onto before you even go over the hump, and it's very, very hard on the cars. So I think that also the last thing I want to say, which could be part of the agenda for the May meeting, is that reducing the speed limit coming into town on the county side down to 30 miles an hour or even 25 to match the city's speed limit would be very appropriate. I had, where I live, I had the speed limit reduced myself with the help of Valerie Brown way back when. And it's not an act of God that it takes to reduce the speed limit. You guys can do it in a heartbeat, but you gotta talk to the county about it. And I think between lowering the speed limit down to what the city's speed limit is coming into town will help reduce the speed issues as well with the stop sign. So with that, that's all I'm asking for, and we'll see you in May, hopefully.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, I can't tell from the agenda if the issue I'm concerned with will be addressed later. The roundabout at 3rd Street West and Perkins Street. Can anyone tell me?
This will be addressed as part of a capital improvement program update. It's a traffic circle, not a roundabout, but that will be addressed with the 3rd agenda item, capital improvement updates that goes over our current Go Sonoma projects. That's part of a larger project.
4.3?
Yes.
Okay, I'll be back.
All right, any other public comment for anything not appearing on the agenda? Seeing none, let's move on to the consent calendar. All items listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be acted upon by a single motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless members of the committee, staff, or public request specific items to be removed for separate action. This time, the committee may decide to change the order of the agenda. Is there any, go.
I'll motion to approve the consent
Second.
calendar.
I second. Vice Chair Branconi,
Aye.
Committee Member Brennan,
Aye.
Committee Member Domeno,
Aye.
Youth Member Mansfield,
Aye.
Committee Member Newman,
Aye.
Committee Member Wyrick,
Aye.
Chair Lobsinger.
Aye.
Thank you, the motion passes unanimously.
All right, moving along to the regular calendar. Discussion on the current status of traffic hazard reports received by the Public Works Department, the procedure for reporting the concerns and metrics utilized for evaluating them. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Ashley.
Thank you, Chair Lobsinger. So as part of this agenda item, we did not receive any new traffic hazard reporting forms between November and current. And so what we're doing is we're working through the backlog of the 21 that we had received at the November traffic safety committee. So what we had decided at that meeting is that Public Works and the Police Department were going to review all of them and then come back to you with some suggestions. So the sheet that I have here in front of you, spreadsheet, is color-coded based on the recommendation of, and we've talked to the Police Department about this as well, about these traffic hazard reporting forms. So we have 4 categories. The blue are traffic hazard reporting forms that we're recommending to be closed out. Reasons for that is because they either, when talking to the police department, found that they were not concerns for the police department, so we didn't have any actionable measure. A lot of them, as we had talked about in the November traffic hazard or traffic safety committee meeting, is that a lot of these were submitted by one person only. And so that brings me to my second category. Orange is keeping these open in case any additional complaints come in. So continuing to monitor probably until the upcoming Traffic Safety Committee meeting or even the Traffic Safety Committee meeting after that. And then closing them out if we don't have any complaints received. The purple are ones that are highlighted with upcoming improvements, and we're gonna go over those in our second agenda item, all of the upcoming improvements that Public Works is working on, that identify and address a lot of these. And then, green are ones we're going to recommending to be elevated to an ad hoc for additional engineering and input. So in total, after, if you guys review the sheet here and agree with closing the traffic hazard reporting forms that we're recommending be closed, we'll have 9 out of the 21 remaining. And that, those are for ones for additional engineering and pending improvements. So we have kept the 9 open for this agenda item. So those are the Emily Meadows Court for the red curb here. Ooh, oh my gosh. Sorry, we don't have a mouse over here, so that's my fault. There we go. Okay, we can go down. Okay. So we've got. Let me go back to the top. So we have Emily Meadows Court, which is the red striping. We discussed this with PD and decided that we should probably also, in addition to Emily Meadow Court, also address Troy Lane and Brownstone Lane, and then in accordance with the recent daylighting law, red stripe the driveway. And then once that is done, we'll close that out. So that's one. Malay Street, we're recommending to be elevated to an ad hoc. We did try to set up a speed survey prior to this meeting, but unfortunately we were unable to do so. And so we're going to look at some alternatives and then, review those at an additional ad hoc meeting. I think that's the only one for that one. We have a lot of pending improvements over here. The Fifth Street West complaints are going to be addressed. We are working on putting a speed radar sign in for this one, number 11 from West Main Street to Verano. We're looking at putting a speed radar sign over by Fano. First Street West and West Napa, we're looking at we are going to be moving forward with putting in a no left turn sign, an additional no left turn sign at First Street West and West Napa. West Napa and 7th Street East, we'll go over this in the second agenda item. As I mentioned, all the purple ones will be expanded on in a second agenda item, but West Napa and 7th Street West, those are going to be addressed by Caltrans suggested striping improvements. So as we mentioned at our November meeting, we did have an existing meeting with Caltrans set up to be taking place after the Traffic Safety Committee meeting. We did go to Caltrans. We presented the packet of signatures to them and said that this is a significant issue that residents are facing. We were told that they were going to look into it with their traffic safety engineering. We were told that that intersection didn't warrant a traffic signal, but instead they did provide some striping improvements, which will hopefully help. Those will be presented in the second agenda item. And then I think those go over everything on that page. Let me go to the next one. The next one is 5th Street West, south of MacArthur. That one is recommended for referred to an ad hoc. We did do a speed survey, but we don't have those results. Well, we have some of the results that the median miles per hour was about 38 miles per hour in both directions. This is an issue where speeds coming in from the county are a little bit higher than city speed limits, so it's going to be part of a larger effort to look at various corridors that have become kind of problem areas and establish that as part of the ad hoc. And then Pickett Street, we're also recommending to keep open for traffic engineering and possible speed survey to determine potential improvements. So part of this agenda item is also asking you, the committee members, to establish an ad hoc to evaluate some critical issues that we're having. So that would review corridor traffic, city entry points, address issues with Broadway Market. So we've had some we've had a resident, report that they've gotten like T-boned in that intersection, and so, you know, that the queuing there has become a problem. And then traffic issues at First Street West and West Napa Street. And we would be closing the older ad hoc that reviewed older traffic hazard reporting forms. And I realized in the meeting minutes after reviewing them that we we started an ad hoc for 7th Street West. I don't know if the committee is interested in keeping that open or if you wanted to close it, but that's just for your consideration. It doesn't have to be, you guys don't have to make a decision today. I just wanted to let you know that this would be two ad hocs that you would have, closing the old one and then opening this newer one that would have a broader focus on some corridor issues.
Yeah, and just to add a little bit to that, Ashley did a great job, I think, and her and I worked on this together, trying to categorize these 21 traffic hazard reporting forms so we can collectively put some of them to bed, collectively as a group decide to put some of them, move them forward. This is our first take at this. You haven't had a crack at it yet. We'd want to hear some input from the Traffic Safety Committee. And then also, just in the spirit of doing an ad hocs aren't supposed to be an evergreen type thing that keeps going on and on. It's very tempting to be able to do that with these because we always have at least one traffic hazard reporting form that is evergreen. But trying to cut it off and stop work on that ad hoc, which we had a meeting with the group this quarter and resolved quite a few things. If some of these were to travel on to a further ad hoc, it's not going to be a deal breaker. It's going to be fine. And we can pick it up and put it on and talk about it with the new ad hoc that she's referring to cover these couple of new subjects. So we want to just get a little bit of feedback from the panel on this and see what the thoughts are.
I'm just curious, how long do we want to keep these in the queue for? Like you have the orange color, it says continue to monitor, but what parameters are we setting to revisit it or close it out?
I would say that's kind of up to your discretion. I would think that if we haven't gotten any additional complaints by the upcoming committee meeting, because at that point, I mean, keep in mind, a lot of these all came in around the same time in August. So it's been open since August. So if we haven't gotten anything in the next 3 months, by May, I would say keep it open. But of course, that's up to your discretion in terms of how long you would like to keep it open for potential monitoring. And again, that's just us checking in, like checking in with PD if there's any issues with this. Like I said, we reviewed all of these with Chief Cutting, so he's aware and knows that we'll be checking in on some of them. But that's kind of up to you guys. But one additional traffic safety committee meeting would be my recommendation, just because a lot of them came in August.
Yeah, and I think that also goes back to how many people signed the original submission. Because a lot of these that we received were one person, and it was when we opened up the new module, the electronic module, people really liked it. We got 21 of them right about the time school started, and we haven't had any in this last quarter. So obviously the big wave, we made it past it, and now it's kind of just deciphering through, and this is the only time we're going to have to do this. But if the committee thinks that 3 of the orange ones should be blue and they should be extant tonight, that's an item for discussion. And vice versa.
Personally, I think if we've had, so it's brought to our attention for, one meeting, I think by 2 more meetings, if there's no complaints, it should be closed out. I mean, that's ample time, that's 6 months plus, so.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. It comes up at the first meeting, and then we probably may need to revisit the second meeting, and by we're gonna call it the third meeting, if there's nothing, then we can close it. And that's also not to say they can't be reopened too. I mean, someone can always come back. So I have no problem with a 6-month or 2 meeting timeline for all of these. And the system's great. It's going to be living and breathing. It's going to be a lot of moving parts, but I would say 2 meetings, and with the possibility if something needs to be brought back up, we can do that. It's not a final closure, it's just getting stuff off of our plate.
So just clarifying question, so this meeting and the following meeting and then close out, or 2 meetings from this meeting?
So if the complaint came in and was brought to our attention this meeting, then 2 more meetings. So it's technically what?
So it would be this
6
meeting,
months.
so if something came up at this meeting, we would agendize it, discuss it.
Yeah, but let's just clarify that. Nothing came up at this meeting. They all came up at the last meeting.
Well, yeah, so I mean,
Yeah.
it's just
Okay,
hypothetical.
you're looking
Just-
forward.
yeah, we're
Yeah, I'm just,
hypothetically.
I'm just saying,
Okay.
as a
Set a precedent, okay.
hypothetical, if we were dealing with one issue, one thing that came up at this meeting, we would discuss it. Then the next meeting, we would have the follow-up and discussion, and then hopefully that's it. So by the meeting after that, we can just put an official closure on it. And that's not, I mean, we probably could close it out at the second meeting, but I would say just keep it as 3 total, just to be safe, to give a little room for, to maneuver.
And just a thought, like maybe when they do come in, you have a second column that says like the expiration date, I guess you could say. So it's just,
Yeah.
it's easy to keep track of. Just a thought. But I know I can tell you spent a lot of time on this, so thank you.
It does absolutely help clarify a lot of issues that are out there. I guess my concern or question is, and I'm not quite understanding if there's not something said after the second meeting. So pick an issue, and they all came in at once, but last meeting, somebody brought in an issue, brought it to our attention. Now it's being worked on. 4 months later, 3 months later, here we are. Are we talking about now you've resolved it as a staff, or the police department's made recommendations relative to it, or the citizen is satisfied with what's transpired?
So, and you gotta take that into context, because what Ashley's specifically talking about tonight, and just reference on the 3rd page of the chart, which is on the screens right now,
Right.
where the blue, we're recommending be closed out tonight. And this is in consultation with the traffic engineering safety team and the chief of police in a follow-up meeting. The orange are what we're talking about, potentially closing out, like what Commissioner Wyrick and everybody's talking about here, in terms of automatically having a sunset. Just the orange. Okay, then the purple and the green are going to be discussed further, and we're not making a decision on when those are gonna sunset tonight. It's more along the lines of up to the ad hoc, additional test meetings, consultation with the traffic engineer, problem solving, et cetera, et cetera.
Mike, to cut to the chase, can I make a motion just to close out those 9 that we want to close out? And then on this other item, it's just simply someone brings something up, and if by the 3rd, after 3, falls off the cliff. That's it.
Exactly, and if that's the feeling of the committee, then if we've had enough time to look at the blues and everybody's content with after the 3rd meeting, the oranges fall off, that could be one separate item, or we could also just go ahead and authorize the ad hoc, and Ashley can review what, again, was proposed with the creation of the new ad hoc. And then it could all go into one agenda item, or it could be multiple, depending on how much we want to bite off.
The
on each one.
language that's throwing me a little bit here is the orange one, close out if no additional complaints are received. So if no additional complaints from the citizens are received, then we're assuming it's a resolved, things are better, it's safer, the complaint wasn't justified in the first place, that kind of thing.
So when I came up with this color schematic, what I wanted to identify and what we have to reckon with is that we had a lot of people that didn't submit, petitions as well, with a lot of people saying that this is truly a problem. We have this consensus of people that are saying this is a problem and we're coming to you, Traffic Safety Committee, to fix this. So in the absence of that, we are left to really figure out, is this actually a problem, or is this just one person observing this and, you know, if no other complaints are received, we're gonna say, this is one person observing this, we talked to PD, we vetted it as we do with all traffic hazard reporting forms, regardless of how many people sign them. But if PD is also in consensus that this is not an issue, and there's no additional complaints from either the person who submitted it or additional surrounding neighbors, or, you know, anyone else, we're gonna go ahead and close it out.
Move on.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody woke up on the wrong side of the bed and decided to bitch that day, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much that's it, so.
Mike, on?
Can we perhaps, on the orange, where it says, no additional complaints, change the word complaint to maybe inquiries? I mean, because it comes to us as a complaint, but then it kind of transitions into no additional inquiries.
And then, like Mike was saying, this we're deviating from convention on this one because we haven't received any traffic hazard reporting forms in the past quarter, which allows us to more gracefully work through this backlog of traffic hazard reporting forms that we got back in November. So that's one. And then two, you know, moving forward, we'll present the standard spreadsheet that I usually have, which is, you know, these are the ones that are older, and, you know, these ones, the ones that go to ad hoc or have pending improvements will be added to that list, and then we'll go over new ones. And so the focus will be on the newer ones moving forward, and, you know, depending on timeline of improvements and stuff like that, they'll be kept open until that improvement is done. If we've identified that there is an accompanying improvement that will satisfy this traffic hazard reporting form.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. This is kind of an anomaly here with the amount of workload that we saw with the initial transition to the electronic reporting. So my only thing is I want to voice that maybe with those oranges, we switch them to the blue next meeting, right? But we don't drop them off right away. My concern with that is I just don't want to cut the committee out of the equation with the ability to just take one last look at it when it's in that blue status. And then if there's nothing that we say, hey, we want to pull this or we want to hold it for one more or whatever the case may be, just so that we can get one last look at it before we drop it off, so that it doesn't go from orange to not on the spreadsheet. So we get one last look to make sure before we, you know, and then, you know, if we're talking about tonight's blues, as of tomorrow morning, they're gone.
We can definitely bring back, so if the committee agrees that the ones identified in blue are okay to be closed out, they'll be closed out after this meeting. We won't bring them back to traffic safety. The one in orange, we can bring back at the May committee meeting, where you will review all the older traffic hazard reporting forms, and we will recommend that they be closed out if we haven't received anything. And at that point, they will be closed out at the May committee meeting. You guys agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah, no, if Chief Cutting has,
I don't mean to complicate anything anymore, but these forms are intended to be a community's way of reporting things that may not be in progress crimes. Some of these that we've listed as blue are more in progress related reports that should have been called into us directly. So it may be helpful for you guys to ask us at the police department to provide you at the meeting where these are going to sunset off. Have we had any in progress calls, 911 calls, or calls to us to respond to an area for something that isn't coming in via form, because that may be as important to you to decide if it's still an issue, is if we're still getting calls about it through our dispatch center. So, and that's something that we can provide. I can work with Ashley to make sure I get a list of those ones that are sunsetting, and to have that detail, I can either provide it back to Ashley to be included in that report or to you guys at the meeting. Just as a thought, sorry, I'm not trying to complicate it.
Thank you, Chief. Yeah, I think we talked about it last meeting also, was the request for from staff for anything that is going to come across the table for the committee to be able to get a report of traffic stops, citations, and any vehicle accidents in that area. I don't know if that made it to actually happen, but that was, I believe, what we had discussed is part of the information that we wanted as a committee, for staff to get with PD beforehand, just so that we have that information when we're going to make a decision.
I think that's exactly what I was saying, and I will absolutely make sure, and I'll work with Ashley to make sure that that data is.
Awesome, thank you, Chief.
So I think we're all in agreement on the color coding the spreadsheet. Then I think the only thing left to do would be for the committee to agree to form a new ad hoc and disband the old one would be the only remaining action item for this agenda item. And then also if we wanted to give any people here, we do have 9 traffic hazard reporting forms that I left open for the intent of public comment for this agenda item. So if you wanted to give them the opportunity to speak.
So just to be clear, because we got a lot of moving parts, is one of the things we need to approve is the actual color coding and no, we're good on that. Okay, so then it's just one ad hoc down, add one, additional public comment on what we currently have in front of us, as well as, what was the last thing?
I think that's it. I think you
I
got
think
all
that's
of it.
it.
Yeah. So just, yeah.
Okay, is there a motion?
We don't need a motion, we just,
Oh,
if
we
you
don't.
guys have agreement with disbanding the ad hoc
Oh,
and then
okay.
creating a new one and doing the volunteering for that, sorry, Ashley.
No.
And then we would move on to public comment.
Yes, okay.
Just one more question about ad hoc. Director Berger brought up the 7th and Napa ad hoc. We didn't officially activate that last meeting, so we don't need to do anything with that, right? It was just,
No, you don't have to do anything about that. I just wanted to kind of let you know as we're talking about ad hocs that you have this one open. We are going to be talking about 7th Street West in the next agenda item. So I just wanted that kind of in the back of your head. If you guys want to keep it open, cool. If you don't want to keep it open, also cool. So, up to you. And if you wanted to disband that ad hoc after hearing the agenda item update in item 2, you're welcome to do that. We don't need like a formal, there's no action necessarily, just want to make sure that the committee members have all of the moving parts from the previous meeting.
Okay. All right then, well then, so we're gonna disband, and then we should find volunteers for for this ad hoc? I'm happy to do it. We got. Now we have
Mark, Adam, and Greg?
Jay, if you want.
Oh, okay. No, is it, we can't have more
I was
than
gonna say we
3.
only need 3. No, Jay, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't see.
Yeah, I'll let Jay.
Okay, so we're gonna do Jay, Mark Branconi, and Greg. Okay, thank you. Sorry, it's hard to
Right.
hear
That's all right. Okay, now, so with that done, we can move on to public comment for this specific item, which is the items listed in, I don't know if it's up on the screen.
In purple or green.
Purple or green.
Yeah, and they're all attached at the following pages. I would scroll, but this is kind of finicky, so.
Just so you know, we can't read that.
Mm.
what items are you here for? Maybe we can help you.
Yeah. The items that are going to be left open are Broadway and Hendricks Emily's Meadow Court. That's one. 5th Street West at West MacArthur. We have Malay Street, another complaint for 5th Street West and West MacArthur. 1st Street West and West Napa and 7th Street West. And 5th Street West south of West MacArthur and Pickett Street. So if anyone here has any traffic hazard reporting form previously submitted, not a new traffic hazard reporting form, one that has been previously submitted and has been previously reviewed and falls into any of those categories, you're welcome to make public comment.
Yep, please.
All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Elizabeth Rouse, R-O-U-S-E. I live at 134 Malay Street. I'm not going to take up too much of your time tonight because I didn't know we would be on the agenda tonight, and it already sounds like you guys have gotten this process started. So I want to start by saying thank you very, very much for that. My husband and I have a 2-year-old son and a 2-month-old daughter who might be the luckiest grandkids in Sonoma because they live right across the street from their Nonna and Pop. And as amazing as this is for them, it is equally as terrifying for us and the grandparents because of how many speeders we get going down the street every single day. This is not only during the school year, unfortunately, it is year round. We have delivery drivers, granted mostly are to my house. We have teenagers, young adults, older adults, everybody. They seem to forget that they're driving on a residential street once they turn onto Malay. I love Malay, and many of you might as well, because it is a great walking street. During the summer, neighbors leave fresh water out on their street for the dogs that walk by, and then boxes of fresh lemons for the people that walk by, and with ours, they are completely and totally empty. That is how many people we get going by. During the school year, Malay, Newcomb, Clay, and Friar Creek are all of the main exits out of our neighborhood from the high school. The latter 3 already have speed bumps because this has obviously been an issue for decades. So we are the only street that doesn't have them just yet. So my dad and I collected the signatures of just about every single neighbor who resides on Malay Street. And I want to thank you for already considering the safety of not only the children, but the public that walk there as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I am Pop. My name is Tom Rouse. I live at 135 Malay Street, and I too we apologize for not being at the November meeting. We did not know we were being agendized in November, so we were not here. But again, I won't take up much more of your time. We appreciate what you're doing. I know Chief Cutting has been very open to my comments about what goes on with the high school driving habits, et cetera, and parking habits in some ways. But to reiterate, so that you all completely understand, Clay Street runs east to west, or west to east. Newcomb runs east to west, west to east. Malay, where we live, runs east to west, and then you've got Friar Creek. And what you really have is you have, in the case of the high school students, and parents also, is they are trying to get to school or get away from school for the most part as fast as they possibly can, and it's almost a race. So imagine coming out of the high school parking lot, the main high school parking lot, making a left on Broadway, and then making a right onto Napa Road to make their way out to Arnold Drive and wherever else they're going. So the cars that are heading out of Malay, heading down Malay Street, heading down Newcomb Street, heading down Clay Street is probably more kids coming out of the high school parking lot. But to Elizabeth's point, they all have speed bumps. Clay has 3, Newcomb has 1, and Friar Creek have 3 in obvious spots. So I'm suggesting that we put some sort of speed bump, whatever you call them today, on Malay. The problem with just 1, and I would volunteer to pay for the one right in front of our homes, but what happens likely in a situation like that is once they get over the first bump, they're hauling ass trying to get down the street just because they're kids. And I recognize we were all kids. And you can, you're still a kid, so you can understand where we are. We appreciate it. If you need any help with the speed survey, what I would only say about that is you're not going to have a lot of traffic, but when you do have a speeder, be it 1, 2, or 3 a day, they're going pretty quick. So I hope it's not quantity. I hope truly that it is about the speed that they're accelerating to. And when they're going by our house, they're either speeding up or shutting down. So middle of the street, I would suggest if we really look at this thing, that we probably put more than 1 speed bump or whatever alternative we choose to help solve the problem. Thanks again for your time.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment on any of these agenda items? Okay, seeing none, is there discussion, further discussion from the committee?
This is already in progress though, right? We have, Public Works is, they're doing the speed limit sign, the radar sign, beat the high score kind of thing.
Everything in purple
Yeah,
has
Yeah.
a pending improvement attached to it.
yeah.
So there's a game plan, materials have been ordered, or it's part of a larger, like, capital improvement project, and so we're in progress on design, you name it.
I just want to jump in and talk about the Malay Street thing since it's come up before. And while I'm not prepared to make any final decisions or motions, I would go on record to say that I don't think it's unreasonable to find a speed bump or some type of slowing on that street, especially if you have, it was very well pointed out that with of the 4 streets, 3 of them have that stuff already. I haven't driven on Malay Street, even though I live right around the corner. I haven't driven down there in a while, so I'd have to look at it, but I don't think it's unreasonable to have something, especially, I know high school kids, I mean, we were all there at one point, some of us are still there. So, I don't think it's an unreasonable ask. It is a beautiful street too. All right, anything else from the committee?
I've been on record multiple times. I think the struggles, if it's not my neighborhood, I'm going fast. If it's my neighborhood, I'm going fast. Our resources in terms of enforcement are limited, and I contend and have contended and will continue to contend that every and all traffic calming device that's possible that we can throw at this to make the neighborhood safer, to make quality of life better is necessary, because I don't see any other way for the police department to stay. You know, there's been a lot of suggestions, well, go enforce. There's only so many people we can put out there, and they're busy. So I just think the more we calm traffic with whatever's reasonable, I think that just makes it better for Sonoma.
Mark, do
I
you
mean,
have
excuse me.
other Mark?
I mean, where are we at this? Can we, to move it forward, can a motion be made to move forward with speed bumps, or are we just still?
This is gonna be covered under the ad hoc, correct? So it will be moving forward in one way or another with the ad hoc.
Bingo, thank you.
And as we typically do with all of our ad hocs, we have a report out at the following meeting of all the things we discussed for then the Traffic Safety Committee to review, approve, etc. So,
Adam, I apologize, on your note, it doesn't have the title of this one. So would you like me to read that for you?
Yes, please.
Okay. Review of proposed upcoming improvements at various areas within the city. And we will have Ashley Cotter present that.
scrolling through here. Thank you, Chair Lobsinger and Cathy. So this is the second part, kind of a not necessarily a continuation of the first item, but everything that was highlighted in purple, well, most things that are highlighted in purple are going to be addressed in this agenda item, and this is going to review all of our current pending improvements. So the first one we're going to talk about is 7th Street West and West Napa Street. I have a multitude of attachments as part of this because I included all of our pending improvement plans. If I had anything to show you guys so that you could visualize what we're currently working on, it's included here. So as I mentioned, 7th Street West, we got an incredible amount of petitioners saying that this was an issue. And we did bring it to Caltrans. Caltrans took a while to get back to us. They finally did and told us that the intersection didn't meet signal requirements, so they were not going to be moving forward with putting in a traffic signal at that area. At the time, I requested additional information on a rectangular rapid flashing beacon, like we would be able to move forward with putting that in. I didn't get any feedback. As I had mentioned at the November Traffic Safety Committee meeting, this is a Caltrans facility, so unfortunately, we're not going to be able to place something like a rectangular rapid flashing beacon, because I believe the key and critical issue with regard to this particular intersection, at least from November, was that this was a really hard intersection for pedestrians to get across. And so we came up with a possible project of putting in an RRFB. So we haven't, Caltrans has not been very communicative with city staff about that, so we can continue to work through that. But currently, what they did provide us was striping and signage improvements for 7th Street West and actually 3rd Street West and West Napa. So those have both been included here. This improvement plan was reviewed during a traffic engineering and safety team meeting. And so as a result of that, what we decided would be a good course of action would be to have Caltrans implement this, right? I mean, ultimately they're going to do that anyway. And so they said that they're going to be able to do this within the next 6 months and then evaluate and see how the signage and striping is going to work. And we can, so that are good, feasible next steps for this location. So these are the this is the striping plan. So for all the crosswalk changes, this is installing a high visibility continental crosswalk with shark's teeth or yield to signs, and then removing an existing white yield sign. So that's number 3. So the smaller one's going to get removed in favor of a larger one. And then number 4 is going to be remove 13 feet of the existing yellow 2-way left turn pavement marking. So that's the striping plan. This is the signage plan. So they're proposing to install 4 new pedestrian signs and remove 1. So the one that they're proposing to remove is over by the library. And then I think that's it. So lots of additional striping. And then this is the improvement plan for 3rd Street West, which I don't believe has any signage, just striping. Which, since we're on the topic of 3rd Street West, we did talk to Caltrans about the Hawk and the fact that the timing is off. They said they were going to look into it. Unfortunately, the Hawk traffic calming device is a traffic signal that requires a warrant or study for it to be put in. It's very difficult to provide documentation that it should be taking it out, that it should be taken out. So an RRFB doesn't require that kind of warrant. However, Caltrans doesn't have a standard for putting those in. So kind of what I was imagining is going through, I mean, however you'd want to do it, we can go through all of these and wait for, provide comment from traffic safety committee members at the very end, or we can go through it one by one.
I don't have a preference either way, so if someone does have a preference, yeah, I would say we just go through them, and if we need to chime in, then we need to chime in.
Great, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to go back and forth in between agenda items. Since now I'm in the exhibits, I'm just going to go through and show you all our various improvement plans. And I just need to scroll to this area in my agenda report. Okay, so that was 7th Street West and West Napa. So current game plan is to let Caltrans do their thing and evaluate its effectiveness. They are hopefully going to get to that within the next 6 months. And then the next one are improvements at 5th Street West. We do have a number of improvements happening at 5th Street West. The first one, which isn't pictured but is a speed radar sign, that's going to be installed on 5th Street West facing southbound traffic as it approaches Fano Lane and Montini Way. This location was recommended by Frank, our city traffic engineer, and this was based on his data that we visualize and can actually see the number of cars and the speeds that they are going at without using a typical speed survey. So that was recommended by him. So that has been ordered. And then this graphic, what we're showing, actually that's not what we're showing. These are temporary measures at Studley Street and 5th Street West. So as part of the Ghost and Owen project, we do have permanent measures in place, but we do intend on doing some striping to address this intersection before that gets done. So the markings I have here, there's a legend below. So number 1 is adding yield to here, ped signs for southbound traffic, and adding Shark's Teeth where there currently aren't any. And then number 2 is the southbound shoulder, refresh the bus turnout and bike lane striping. Number 3 is designate a keep clear area, and then I have an example down below of what that might look like. And this is primarily for northbound traffic, so there's all that queuing that happens, especially when school's out, and then, southbound? Okay. And then, number 4 is out of the screenshot, but a slow school crossing for southbound traffic.
Yeah, and this is, these markups are just for temporary striping improvements before the Ghost and Omen project gets finished. There was enough issue here brought up recently that we decided to move forward with some temporary striping. The stripes got, all the material got ordered. We received it about 3 weeks ago, and we've been waiting on a good weather day to get it in. So as soon as it gets dry enough and the temperatures are high enough, we can put it in almost any day. We're busy, but we just have to fit it into our schedule. And what we're trying to do here is just in an interim condition, really clearly define the shoulder and where the bike lane is, because if those stripes are currently out there, and some of them are, some of them aren't, if the stripes are currently out there, they're pretty beat up because the pavement's not excellent, and so the stripes stick around less time. Now we think that this is going to have a big improvement and get us over the interim condition where the Ghost and Omen project will come in and repave the whole thing and put fresh striping down per the dark. We put this right on, I believe it's a 60% submittal for the Ghost and Omen project. So all that striping that's shown on there is the ultimate configuration, but the red is indicating what Ashley read in 1 through 3, and then number 4 is just off of the page. But those are the 4 things that we're going to put in as soon as weather permits. We got the material ready to go.
More citizen curiosity. City of Sonoma is paying for that striping. On Napa Street, we're also paying for that, even though, Caltrans is paying for that. Is that, okay, I'm just curious. How is this, on the temporary striping, it reminds me a little bit of what's going on in Browns Valley, which I know a lot of people aren't, in Napa, people aren't really thrilled with it, but it seems to really have narrowed the street and calmed traffic there.
Yeah, this is not going to be similar to that.
No?
This is more traditional markings in a clustered region. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, these are more traditional markings in a clustered region. We have markings similar to this around town, but the thing is, you got a bike lane and a bus stop and a stop sign and crosswalks right there in the same spot. So it looks a little bit like that, but this is not the same traffic engineering.
And then the bulb outs and things that are shown on that's the future plans, because those don't exist right now. Is that correct?
I'm so glad you asked. That's our next slide. So this is taken from our 65% submittal. This, and obviously this will get fleshed out with 90% and then eventually get pushed out for when the project gets out to bid, full 100% PS&E. But this does have bulb outs coming out of, well, you can see, but Studley here, and then on the other side where, like, right next to the Safeway driveway. And so what Mike did when he created that schematic was placing the improvements you just saw in the previous temporary improvement plan on this plan. So everything you see here are improvements that are going to be put into place as part of the city's Ghost and Omen project, and that we're currently in design on, and hopefully we'll get out to construction in the summer, fall. As part of the upcoming SCTCA board meeting is actually an appropriation request, so we can start making those requests as soon as construction gets going.
I just wanted to note that Mark's looking ahead and he was cheating, so that's all. That's how we knew.
I thought that was a really well-timed question.
He doesn't get a gold star for
Just
that.
trying to move things along.
So the hallmarks for this project really are the bulb outs to help with pedestrian crossing, and then just overall traffic calming here.
One quick question, the crosswalk, so it looks like on that Safeway side, there's the bulb out, and that's gonna be a ramp to a crosswalk. Will that be RRFB, or what's the plan for that?
Yes, that'll be an RFB. Part of the plan is to remove the current in-ground light up setup that is not super effective, and then we'll put in a RFB is like what we have over at 3rd Street West in West Spain, which I drive every day to work. It gets a lot of action, so that's great.
Thank you.
Okay. So then moving on, this is part of the improvement plan that we have 5th Street West and the bike path. So this is also part of the Ghost and Omen project. We are going to take out, similar to what we have up at Studley, and 5th Street West is another one of those in-ground light-up systems. So those aren't super effective. They're hard to maintain. So we're going to put in an RRFB system here, also make the crossings ADA compliant, and refresh the striping. So this is one of quite a few bike path improvements that are suggested as part of the Ghost and Omen project. So that's another one. And then, so that concludes our improvements at 5th Street West. So we have a total of 4 upcoming improvements at 5th Street West. This graphic we have here are improvements at 1st Street West. So city staff worked with the city traffic engineer to develop an updated signage plan for the intersection, and includes a new no left turn sign, as you can see here, as well as putting in some additional delineators.
Will there be a no left turn sign, what we're looking at, but also on the opposite side, on the south side of First West, so if you were coming from the Red Grape?
No,
Okay.
it currently is just for one.
Just a point of clarification, are those going to be neon yellow in color?
I believe so, but we'll confirm that.
Till they start getting knocked over by trucks.
Is there a way to have them a different color just for preservation of the historic plaza? No? Cutting's looking at me like, Shelby.
Delineators like that placed on the striping should match the striping.
Thank you for the clarification, Frank.
What?
Okay, so then I'm gonna go ahead and move
And
with.
then, sorry, just one quick question. Just because I'm thinking about the removable, because they're removable as of now, the sign itself will be in a sleeve that's removable. Because pretty frequently for events, that has to be cleared.
What happens to those existing delineators that are out there now during the parade?
Pull the pins. There's pins at the bottom.
Okay, then we're gonna have a removable sign too, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't, somebody brought that up, but thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah.
So then we have, what's not pictured here and what's in the staff report is improvements at 2nd Street West and Andrick. So in response to a THRF, we purchased materials to improve striping at 2nd Street West and Andrick Street in response to an older traffic hazard reporting form. the road is a little rough in that area, so we're gonna even it out with Topeka fines and then lay the thermoplastic striping over that. So that's not pictured, but that's something else that we have cooking. And then this here are improvements at Broadway and Leveroni Road. This I kind of touched on earlier. We had a resident reach out who let us know that they had recently been involved in a pretty gnarly traffic accident trying to turn left out of the Leveroni parking lot. And this has been studied by various traffic engineers due to a possible development on Broadway. That project has not been brought to Planning Commission or anything like that, but in this preliminary stages of vetting this possible development, we have received a few traffic studies that are required. And so there's been a lot of eyes on this. The city traffic engineer reviewed crash data for this intersection and found that they are higher than normal volumes as the left turn out of Broadway at Broadway Market at Leveroni exit. This could be attributed to the long queue of cars turning left from Leveroni to Broadway during commute hours. And city staff has assembled this very preliminary improvement plan that you are currently looking at, and Public Works and the Police Department do plan on having discussions with Broadway Market regarding this issue.
Yeah, and just to give an update on that, this is one concept that we're looking at. We are not contemplating doing this at this time. This is one concept that we're looking at. The chief was out at Four Corners today. We are going to have a meeting with the property owner and myself and PD. But basically, this is a tricky little area.
Yeah.
We have to get the traffic engineer. The traffic engineer has had very little involvement, but I just requested to have some of the concepts they were talking about put on paper. This is not something we're seriously considering, but it's going to be something along these lines of what we're having discussions with the owner about. Yeah, we're talking about a multitude of different options, but we're in the real preliminary stages of it, and there's a little bit more to come on this. And this will be something that we talk to the ad hoc about.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, I'm sure the chief saw it today, but just looking at this, I know it sounds like the design may change, but if there's any consideration for that, like protective pocket for folks turning left onto Leveroni headed westbound, people tend to cheat over into that center lane a little early who are eastbound Leveroni approaching Broadway. So my only thought is that short of putting something physical there in that protective pocket, you may have an issue with head-on traffic there.
Great point, and we'll be considering that if this option moves forward.
My question actually goes to Broadway, and I'm sure you guys have talked about it, but I'm just asking for my own edification. That whole pull-in parking is, I mean, however that gets resolved, that must be.
This is something we're going to talk to the owner about.
So I think that's all of the improvements we have to show you as part of this agenda item. So if you have any questions or want to open it up for public comment.
Anything else from the committee for the time being? Shelby, you look like you wanna.
I'm just curious, are there any other options for the yellow, beautiful left turn? What are they called?
Wine barrels.
Okay. Well, think about it. I mean, that's like when you come into the plaza, it's right there. So it's front and center. So I'm just curious if there's other options or if there's something that we can look into.
I'm looking at our city traffic engineer because I'm not sure.
We'll go ahead and look to see what we can do. So the intent of anything placed on center line should match the color of the center line. I was just advised that potentially what's out there now is white with yellow reflector. And that is, it's whether or not, delineators and channelizers, there's a whole lot of like nuance to it. But I think what we'll try and do is find something that protects that sign, right? We're going to put a sign out there, and we want to make sure that that doesn't become the hazard. Paddles or delineators typically are much more forgiving as opposed to a sheet of metal, usually at least a metal signpost. There are some alternatives we can look at.
Thank you. Just wanted to ask.
All right, I'm going to open up to public comment. Is there any public comment on any of these items we just discussed? Seeing none, and oh, I'm sorry.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, come on up. Careful.
Oh, do you know my name? Lorelei Farmer. So my question to you is, I see
Excuse me, what was your name? I'm sorry.
Lorelei, Lorelei. My last name's Farmer, Farmer. So, what is the background of putting all these lines? Like, I cross at Broadway all the time, and before, when they had the little lights in the road, people didn't see them. Are these lines going to make any difference? What's the background on putting all these lines in the road now?
So if you have any questions, the questions have to be addressed to the commission.
Oh.
And then
Oh,
the
I'm sorry.
commission can
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know.
carry on. No, that's all right.
Yeah.
That's all right.
It's a fair question. I think it's a very broad and open question. I would maybe look at Frank to have some type of succinct answer on this. I hope I'm not putting you on the spot.
Absolutely. So the treatment itself is a combination of different stripes. So the markings on the ground are there kind of in a collective to create a couple different things. So the markings themselves of the crosswalk, we used to just have two parallel lines as a crosswalk.
Right.
These markings that are out there, the continental, which are the long stripes that are in the direction of travel, those are actually more visible than just two parallel lines when you think about approaching at a speed. So that's the first part.
Okay.
Is the crosswalk itself will be more visible. The shark's teeth, or the limit lines that we're creating, those create a place where people will yield to the pedestrian in the crosswalk.
You talking about those little triangles?
Those triangle, we call those shark's teeth.
Yeah.
Those are placed away from the crosswalk so that the pedestrian who's looking at the car, looking where they want to go, looking at the car, sees that the car is yielding at a point that's not just right at the crosswalk. So we put those back further so that the pedestrian knows that the car is going to yield to them. Where
They hope.
Well,
Sorry.
exactly. No, exactly. Well, and if they don't yield at that point, don't step in front of them. The
Well,
car is
okay,
not
yeah,
yielding,
yeah.
so don't step in front of it. Then the third part, and particularly the intersection that we showed, which was Fifth and Studley, is the enhancement of the signage. So the signage is now being push button activated, and that now tells the cars a pedestrian is here. Not just seeing the pedestrian or seeing that the pedestrian is stepping off the curb and you shall yield to them, but that the pedestrian hits the button so that the cars know he wants to cross. Then, when they yield at the shark's teeth, then the pedestrian knows they can cross the street. It's a lot different than the way we used to do things, right? As pedestrians, we just look, see that a car's there, like eye contact, a lot of the basic things, hope that the car is going to yield, see that they yield probably a lot closer to the crosswalk. And this is where collisions,
Okay, so
pedestrian
you're really
fatality.
hoping that this extra signage will.
It's really the signage, the markings, everything together is to create a system so that the pedestrian is more visible through enhancement of the strining and the striping, that the car has a place where it knows to yield so that the pedestrian knows they can cross.
Okay.
And so it's a system, right? It's
Yeah.
all a part of making that communication that kind of just used to happen, right? You'd look at a car, you'd look at the driver, and you'd know the driver was going to stop for you or yield to you, and you could walk across the street. Now we're creating something that helps make sure that happens. For children, for elderly, for 8 to 80, everybody in between, we want to make sure that everybody crossing the streets in the city of Sonoma are safe. And this is one of the ways by enhancing the situation. The markings, the shark's teeth, all of it creates this system so that we get more compliance with the pedestrian in the roadway. I don't know if you've done sting operations in the city, but no. Typically, that's an approach where you just kind of see where things are happening. Not recommending that, saying that is a fact, but it's just helping to create a system that creates,
hopefully people know it. I mean, when I first saw those shark's teeth, I didn't know what they were.
there's signage
But-
associated with that as well. There's
Yeah.
actually signs that say yield to the pedestrian here. So there's a whole collective of signs that tell you what to do.
Okay, well, I walk all around Sonoma. I never noticed that before, but thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Unless there's anything else from the committee, we can close this item out and move on to the next. Any further? Nope. Let's move on to the capital projects. Again, I'm going to turn it back over to Ashley.
It's my favorite part. So, we wanted to take a minute to give you an update on all of our transportation-related capital projects. This is a portion of our capital improvement program that Mike and I have been really busy on over the last year and a half, and we have a lot of projects that are going to be coming up soon. So one that was recently completed was West Main Street. When we initially met in November, construction hadn't started yet. We had authorized the contract. Maybe some preliminary stuff had been started, but the road hadn't actually been done. So since that time, construction was completed, and we converted that portion of West Main Street from 5th Street West down to 1st Street West into a bike boulevard, and we were actually able to incorporate traffic calming elements in the form of those painted bulb outs that you see on West Main Street. This actually wasn't part of the project when the project went out to bid. We did all of it on change order, and so like on the fly, and so we did I think, really well with it in terms of getting that those traffic calming elements in there. That was one of the biggest pieces of feedback that we got from the Sonoma County Bike Coalition was that a bike boulevard needs to, in order to really make that a shared facility and for it to be more comfortable for bicyclists on that shared facility, there needs to be some additional traffic calming coupled with, obviously some complaints that we had gotten from West Main Street about speed and all that good stuff. So we were able to do that. And we also included getting some striping improvements down at the plaza on the West Main Street corridor, or Spain Street corridor. And so we're currently working on getting some speed survey data to assess effectiveness of our improvements, about whether or not some additional traffic calming might be required on that section. One useful thing that we're going to get out of our speed surveys is the traffic volume that we will see on Spain Street. So just kind of trying to make this area work as a bike boulevard.
Yeah, and then just to follow up on that, I can't remember how we reported this out to you before, but we did take a speed survey just prior to the construction project. And we did, and this was before and after both directions at the new RRFB. And then we're doing that again. I believe it completed today. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it completed today. Identical data, so we know what traffic was doing before, and we'll be able to compare it to what traffic was doing after, and we'll be discussing that with the ad hoc test committee traffic engineer. Hopefully speeds went down, and we'll evaluate them and be able to report out on that. And then, yeah, because that traffic hazard reporting form is still pending, and it's waiting for this speed survey data to be comparable pre-project and post-project. And so we'll be prepared to talk about that at the next traffic safety meeting.
Thank you. I've noticed a difference on West 3rd. Is that no Church? Yeah, that whole area. So thank you.
Any comments from the committee? Seeing none, we can open up to public comment on this agenda item. So there's more.
There's more. I have.
I thought we were finishing.
Yeah,
Okay, I was
nope.
like, two more. There we go. Okay,
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'll just continue then. So the next one we have Friar Creek Drive, Pickett Street, and Nash Street pavement rehabilitation project. So this includes pavement grinding and overlay along Friar Creek Drive, Pickett Street, and Nash Street. So this project is currently out for bid, with bids to be open on March 19th, and contract award is currently projected for March 30th. The engineer's estimate for this project is $887,000 and $200. And then the graphic for what areas are right here. So we have two different depths to be ground out, and this is based on traffic index. We worked with our city traffic engineer on very reduced spec in order to get this project out to bid and construction going on it quickly without doing a fully fleshed out PS&E. And so we're excited that this is going to be completed. This project number is CIPT5. It's one of our kind of recurring project numbers. But this is something we've been working on for the last year and a half. So it's exciting that it's finally out to bid. And then just so you know, when we were looking at this and looking at our data in Street Saver, which is our program to evaluate what our pavement condition index is for our city streets, these roads are around a 7 on a scale of 1 to 100. So addressing these is going to help our overall pavement condition index score.
And just to elaborate on that a little bit, we took a different approach on this job. We did a no plans, spec only bid set. And this is a trend with contractors now. It basically alleviates a lot of the cost of putting plans together. However, we're pretty confident that the package that we put together is easily biddable by contractors, easily understandable. There's no sense in making it any more complex than it has to be, but it's a spec-based bid set. This is the only plan that we have in the job, other than a plan for the speed bump, to put the speed bumps back in on Friar. And but this spec's been thoroughly vetted, and it's going to be a successful project.
And then moving on to our Go Sonoma project. We discussed elements of this previously in our pending improvement update, but this addresses quite a few bike crossings throughout the Sonoma bike path. And then this also includes significant upgrades to Studley and Fifth Street West, which we already went over. And then also, we just recently completed the grant amendment necessary to make 3rd Street West Bike Boulevard part of this project. So we successfully removed the Sasserini School Trail from this project, and instead are moving forward with the 3rd Street West Bike Boulevard. So that will be constructed. This is primarily a striping project. Will be completed with this project as well. This is going to function as a much needed connector between the Friar Creek bike path and the Sonoma bike path. And just, hopefully it's just another pathway for people to avoid high traffic areas like Broadway to get down to the plaza. And then construction is currently projected for late summer, fall. GHD is the design engineer on record. And so we're working with them on overall project design. We're currently at 65%, but hopefully we'll get to 95% pretty quickly. And then, we do have Friar Pickett Nash we have to get through, and then eventually that'll go out to bid, but it's going to be a busy summer. And then the last that we have is the pavement management program, and that is improvements identified from 2022 to 2030. So we've been working with city engineer to develop a scope for 2 upcoming slurry projects. And slurry projects are utilized to maintain road conditions. Pavement condition index needs to be good in order for slurry to be effective. It's a preventative maintenance measure to maintain the current roadway. And in the process, we worked with the city engineers to develop a larger pavement management program that addresses all of our improvements. And so that's this. Can we rotate this? Rotate. I'm not seeing that.
It's not an option, unfortunately.
Maybe exit full screen.
So this identifies paving that we've completed, paving that is projected, slurry seal projects. So slurry seal for 26 and 28. 26 is in blue, 28 is in yellow. Future paving projects are in green. A lot of these are projects that we applied for grant funding for through the SCTCA grant call for projects back in August of 25. So a lot of those are reflected here, like Verano, Andrix, Newcomb, and then the Friar Pickett and Nash paving that we have projected for 2026 is in purple. Paving projects that are completed are in gray and red.
Yeah, paving projects completed are in gray. Slurry projects completed are in red. And the reason that we went back in time a little bit was we captured the first slurry project when I got here. And that was 3 years ago and change. So the slurry project from 1 year ago and the slurry project from 3 years ago are shown in red. Paving completed, like the sections we just did on Spain Street, are shown there in gray, along with the job that we just did as a public-private partnership, kind of, with PG&E as gray on 3rd Street. And then, as Ashley was saying, Friar Pickett Nash, this year's paving project is shown in purple. And then blue are slurry seal projected. And is that both years, Ashley? Or just the one? Blue is 26, yellow is 28 slurry, and then the green are the projects that we're waiting on funding grants or for our funding mechanisms like gas tax, SB1, to fill up our pots again so that we can go out and build more jobs. Yeah, and this is it's a long-term look at the program and what we're going to be providing to utility companies to get them on the same page as us. So hopefully they're not going out and putting a gas line in the year after we finish doing the paving job. Yeah, and this is going to go on our website, and we'll be updating it as we move through the cycle this summer and next summer.
All right. That's it for the capital projects. Just making sure so I don't get too far ahead. Okay. Anything from the committee on this one? Now I can open up to public comment on anything that was just discussed in this item.
My name is Loretta Carr, Lorettacarr. I live at 705 3rd Street West. Been there for over 30 years. I'm here once again to express my strong opposition to the roundabout. That's the third item on that agenda. 3rd Street West and Perkins Street. I know that you prefer to call it a traffic calming circle. I tend to think that that's just linguistic manipulation to reduce the negative image of an obstacle in the middle of the intersection. Evidently, the Bicycle Coalition has more clout with you than the residents and medical offices and their patients, who greatly outnumber the bicyclists on that street, and the residents and medical people who will be adversely affected by this obstruction. No one I've talked to has said, "Wow, what a great idea." How will the buses and numerous large delivery trucks maneuver a roundabout in a street that is not particularly large? UPS, USPS, Amazon, Shred It, FedEx trucks pass daily. They have to move towards the center of the street to avoid the vehicles already parked on 3rd Street West to access medical offices there. Also, my question is, what's the proposed design of the roundabout? Is it just a cement circle with a bright yellow painted border and signs in the middle, 4 signs in the middle with arrows, one facing in each direction. I've seen photos of comparative roundabouts in Petaluma, I think designed and executed by the same company that you propose to use here. And those roundabouts are very unsightly. This will certainly reduce property value. And that's going to be right in front of my house. How would you like to have an ugly cement circle with signs right in front of your house? Another threat to adjacent property comes with the traffic accidents I predict will happen because of this street obstacle. Besides vehicles crashing into yards, people could be injured. Pedestrians and elderly in wheelchairs, both of which greatly outnumber any bicyclists I see going down 3rd Street West. I have spoken to city workers when they were working on the sidewalk and gutter there in my corner. That was just a couple weeks ago. They knew nothing about the roundabout. They looked out in the intersection and shook their heads and said, the street's not big enough. I spoke to a bus driver when he stopped in front of my house last week. He did not know anything about the roundabout either, and he thought it was not a good idea. None of the residents or businesses near that intersection were notified ahead of time or asked for input ahead of time. That is irresponsible and inconsiderate. Please do the smart thing and cancel the roundabout at this location. Use the funds for other more critical needs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lorelei Farmer again. You know, it was a few years back when having a bicycle lane on Broadway was the biggest and best idea that Sonoma could offer their bicycle people. I spoke out every occasion I could and wrote several letters asking why it was necessary. I mean, at first, and thank goodness, the pylons, they were going to have pylons out all along Broadway because, you know, the bicyclists need this whole lane for them right next to the sidewalk. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I drive down Broadway very frequently, and I live just a couple blocks away. How many bicyclists have you seen since we've added this bicycle lane? I haven't seen any more than there were before that. Now we're proposing a bicycle boulevard on 3rd Street West. It's supposed to connect from General Vallejo's home to Friar Creek. And my understanding is they're even changing some of the stop signs so that bicyclists can just go on down. But what happens when they get to Napa Street? You have to push that button and wait anywhere from 10 to 30 seconds to cross the street. That's not, to me, a boulevard. And in regards to her situation with this calming circle, why do we need a calming circle? That's what I've heard all night, you know. It does. It looks stupid. So I'm just saying, when I talked to Ashley earlier today, she said it was the Bicycle Coalition who wanted to put this calming circle in. Did anybody go and see how many bicyclists are out there? Did anybody, you said you ran some reports on how fast people were driving. Did anybody go out there? I'm not talking about there, but at another, you know, you just said you did traffic reports on Spain Street. Okay, did anybody do it on 3rd Street? So my question is, or was this just something that came out of the blue and, oh yes, because, you know, we did it on Broadway and it was such a great idea and it brought so many more people to the plaza, and I'm being facetious, obviously. Now we've got to have another one here in town. So I just am hoping that people will take a closer look at this and realize, why do we need it? And why do we need a calming circle? And why do we need to change these stop signs to accommodate how many bicycle riders? Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no more public comment, does the committee have any thoughts? Anything to add? All right. In that case, for now, we'll close out this agenda item, and we will move on to, does the traffic committee, does anybody have any reports? Anything to report back? Seeing none, we'll turn it over. Oh, go ahead, Mark.
The separate agenda item is reports. So I, this was kind of regarding the Caltrans stuff that we had talked about. I believe I had emailed Ashley, and you had recommended just rather than agendizing something separate, bring it up in this scenario. And so it was more just to kind of open it up to the committee members, but also try and ask in your communications with Caltrans if they would be willing to take a look at the light at Riverside, Napa, and 12 there in front of Staples. We've had a few collisions there, over the past couple of months, and I think a lot of it is related to people not yielding when they are trying to turn left onto 12 from Riverside. So when they're in the eastbound direction on Riverside, crossing the Igvella Bridge, they're turning left, and it's just a solid green in both directions. And so my thought was it'd be very, very simple to even throw in one of those, just swap out the light itself and put in a blinking yellow arrow to just remind folks that they are supposed to be yielding to oncoming traffic. Just because the roads do line up there, but they're just coming out of a turn on the Igvella Bridge. So it's not like one of those clear cut, four-way intersections or T intersections where you might think, oh, I have, nobody or somebody coming the other way that's going to be in my path. So I know that it sounds like they're not even really responding to the RFB inquiry, but if the opportunity arises, I think that would be something worth discussing with Caltrans, because I know that that's likely one of their lights.
All right, yeah, thank you.
So this is for me, and it's really meant to be a thought piece, and it's grown from our couple of years here as a group, where we face what seems to be pretty common concerns by citizens. People drive too fast, people don't stop at stop signs, and those kinds of things. And with Director Berger's guidance, we've been able to employ devices to help do that. As I mentioned earlier tonight, the police department isn't staffed so highly that they can be out on the street constantly all over. They can't be at Friar Creek if they're going to be on East Napa Street and so on. And I'd like to be able to, and I'm not sure how we do it. I'm not sure if it's in our purview. I'm not sure if it's been considered before. But to really, in my conversations with city council people and with planning, they do talk a little about traffic. They do talk about patterns and so on. I'd like to see a more robust recognition on their part of things related to traffic relative to what's going to happen in our community. What's going to happen is pretty simple. We're being legislated by the state of California to build more houses. As we build more houses, we get more cars, that we're going to have more retail and so on. Traffic's already, as we hear, hellacious. And a couple of Fridays ago, I was driving down eastbound on West Spain Street, and it was backed up, completely stop and go, about 3:30 in the afternoon from 5th Street West to 3rd Street West. On the following Monday, I'm driving down same direction eastbound on Napa Street, and westbound on Napa Street went all the way to the plaza, stop and go. It's just busy. It's just busy. These are things that as we add, it's hard to tell, but if we add a development at Napa Road and Fifth Street West, that's going to be dozens of homes times 2 cars per. And then there's the other area where we have no purview, and that's things like the Sonoma Developmental Center, where one of the current plans is 1,000 cars, 70,000 square foot retail off, and they're going to drive on Arnold Drive. And Arnold Drive's going to go in our neighborhoods. That's going to bring people through here. And so I'm asking us collectively as a group, I think we're doing a really good job, certainly at the guidance of Director Berger, to react to people who have issues, and certainly these ad hoc committees, which I'm happy to be a part of. We're going to continue to, look at some things that are going on. I'm not saying that we're ignoring a lot of things as a city and we need to push as a traffic committee. But I'm saying I think we need perhaps more budgeting, better signage. We're getting that on some of these projects now. One of the things I'd like to see is an enforceable commercial vehicle ordinance in our city, so that we don't have, I've left you pictures, just things that happen. I've got loads of video and photos of my neighborhood where these 18-wheelers have come through and wreak havoc with traffic. They make it unsafe. If you've got 2 18-wheelers, one going eastbound, one going westbound off of the plaza down Napa Street, somebody's got to back up, which makes it even more interesting. We're not going to calm all the traffic. We're not going to slow all the speeders. We're not going to get everybody to stop at a stop sign. But there are devices that continue to be utilized throughout the globe that can help. And I'd like to, I guess, be more encouraging to the city council and the planning department in particular, to planning commission, to really draw more of that thought into what they're talking about. This isn't to say anything about the emergency exits and stuff we've got in town. So I wrote this. Maybe am I the only one who's thinking this way? Do you guys have other ideas? Should we be doing something different? Is there something we can do as a committee to push up to the city council? I don't know. But it's been a couple of years of sitting up here listening to people who had similar concerns to mine, and we're doing what we can, but maybe we can do more. I don't know what that is. So thoughts?
Well, I mean,
go.
okay.
I was going to say, on a lighter note, if traffic's backed up for 3 blocks, there's
no one's speeding.
No one's speeding. No, seriously, I hear what you're saying. Just my comment is, you're fighting a losing battle when it comes to the growth. I mean,
right.
There's only so much. It sucks. That's what happens. We're gonna have the people coming, and it's sad, and that's the reality. And the more people it'll be here, the slower it will be. So there won't be a big deal.
Well, I guess my suggestion is, can we be more? Is there something we can do to be even more proactive, so that when because it is going to happen.
The thing is, with the commercial vehicles, that's the thing that really could be addressed. But that's tough to enforce. I mean, that's a big one.
Growing up in San Diego, I think that the traffic that we have here is very minimal. But I do think it does make it difficult with having 1-lane roads. But what we're doing today is setting the foundation and how far I think that we've come as a committee. I mean, let's think about a year ago. There were no standards in place and protocols for when someone wanted to report something. So I think that continued conversation, strategic ad hocs, right? And there's other committees too that partner with Planning Commission and other committees within, you know, different purviews, right? That partner together on big topics. So personally, I think if there is something that is in the near future, it's something for us to consider. But I do think it should warrant something big enough where we join with other commissions and are more strategic, kind of like what's happening with the, you know, you mentioned Sebastiani. You know, they met last week. That's a huge topic. They have a lot of groundwork to do, but I don't think that warrants us getting involved yet, right? So I do appreciate your sentiment and care, but I do also want to take credit for what we have done. And then you guys have just done an incredible job helping us create a system. And I know we're not perfect, right? We've got room to improve, but so far.
This isn't meant as a criticism either.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a trying to look over the horizon and go, well, what more can be done, or what more can we anticipate, and go from there. That's
one thing that we can do. Our current city manager, who I know will be leaving us soon, who's started something that we've been doing, is the chairpersons and the vice chairs of all the committees. We get together every quarterly or just to kind of go around the room, what's happening, you know, here's the overall look, but we kind of get together and talk about what's coming out of our committee, maybe voice some concerns. So we have had these meetings, and those have been very helpful and very productive. Now, we've only had, I think, 3 or 4 so far, and I had to miss one of them. But as the current chairperson, I'd be more than happy to take, that's what I'm jotting down, like, what are my big takeaways from today's meeting? I have like the big, like, these are big takeaways. So I'm happy to take input from the committee and obviously the public, because I'm taking these notes, to bring to that meeting. Now, it's not a city council meeting, but able to pass it along to, whether it's the planning commission, environment, you know, arts, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to take input from everybody, whether you're on the committee, public works, or from the community, to help relay that message and get that, make sure that those messages are being delivered to the committees that could concern them, and will ultimately ultimately get to the city council. So please send them to me, and I'm happy to discuss as well. And that's just one avenue, of course.
And just to segue a little bit off of what Committee Member Wyrick said a couple of minutes ago regarding the ease with which people can submit traffic hazard reporting forms these days, a couple of the other milestones that this committee has delivered on, and then don't forget about our neighborhood traffic calming program, which we worked on for an upwards of a year. We had a lot of public input on it. We had a lot of professional input. We had a lot of various department input, police department, fire department, test committee, ad hocs. And if you take a look in that, traffic circles and traffic roundabouts are 2 pre-approved methods for traffic calming in this city. This is in our document that is on our website that we have put on that website. And both of those different features are clearly defined in the book. This is something that as a commission representing the city, we adopted for use in this city. These are not things that we picked up because one person commented and suggested it. It's not something that is off on a whim. This is something that we believe in, and that all the other Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 traffic calming measures are things in our portfolio that we can use to calm traffic. And so, I mean, that was a huge milestone for this committee, and it's something that we need to celebrate. And like I'm hearing up on the dais, we're going to take what we have and we're going to run with it. And we're going to get better and more efficient at pushing these things out and making this city safer. And the proof's going to be in the pudding. And it's going to be in what did the speed survey show before and what did it show after. Because that's where the tires hit the road.
Can I just add one thought? I retired from San Francisco PD, and I was the lieutenant in charge of traffic. And we saw the city, Adam contested this, that we saw the city of San Francisco, and I was third generation growing up there until I found Sonoma. That, you know, the city had this Vision Zero, and I'm sure you've heard of it. And it's the same issues that are happening at a much smaller scale here in Sonoma. And a lot of it comes from I wish the other lady was here because I wanted to address something she said, but a lot of it comes from funding from the state, and they want to get more cars off the street to limit pedestrian fatalities. So it's coming to every city in California, and it's just what's happening. And we have to kind of, you can't resist it, you have to kind of embrace it and work with committees like what we have in the city, because I can tell you, we did not have people from the planning commissions or other entities every month like you folks, Mike and the chief. So this is a really good program that you have here to get things done. And I just want to compliment everybody on that everybody comes to the table.
I just wanted to tap
And
on
I
your.
would love to have a cement circle in front of my house. I wanted to tell
I just
her
wanted
that.
to add your Vision Zero is getting pedestrians off of just to. I know she left, but just to kind of address one thing about why does 3rd Street West need traffic calming? It doesn't. It's a perfect example of a street that is suitable for a bike boulevard because of the low average daily traffic volume. The point is that a bike boulevard is a shared facility, and so to make bicyclists more comfortable in that facility, to slow traffic down even more without reducing parking or anything like that. Bike lanes would reduce parking, and so having those pieces of the puzzle there to allow cyclists to feel comfortable. And Vision Zero does a really great job of explaining levels of comfort of cyclists. Like I don't like going on anything other that's not a class 1 path. Like I am not adventurous at all, and my bike of choice shows that. It's a little beach cruiser. But there are other people that are comfortable on shared spaces and stuff like that. So by creating areas that cyclists feel comfortable with, we're hoping that they will use it more and then get drivers off of those roads to decrease traffic related fatalities. So just to kind of close that loop.
All right. I think we closed the loop. Unless there's anything else from the committee,
The only thing I just wanted to say is Adam talked about this, about us soliciting information from you guys to bring to the chair and vice chair meetings. But just thinking about ways that I can improve with this is reporting out on anything. So I'll take good notes at the next one we have and give that as part of a report out to the committee so that everybody kind of knows some of the stuff that was discussed at that, like, hey, here's just kind of a summary of any of the really key points that we covered.
I just have one last question. So in this,
we can't change the color of the reflective things on the plaza.
No, we need to. Please. I'm gonna push for that. I'm gonna be really annoying. Gotta love Sonoma. It's gotta make it pretty. Okay, so I'm just curious, and this is more of an administrative thing. So when that I can't remember, I wrote down their name when they came up and brought up the speed humps. So does that, when we have public comment like that, and it's based on an item that was closed out, are we then putting that back on the agenda, or yeah, but how is that gonna go on? Does that qualify as like a traffic report form, or okay, I'm just curious, because it was something that was closed out previously, but now it's brought up again. Do you know what I'm saying?
We're talking about 5th Street East, right? Or East Napa?
No, we're talking about Malay speed bumps, right?
No.
No, sorry, 5th Street.
Yeah.
The speed
Fifth
humps.
Street.
Right. So that traffic hazard reporting form, I believe, is still open. I don't think we closed it out. The OG, yeah. Not for the T, for the implementation of because the speed bumps were temporary and meant to be
Yes.
like test control.
Those have not been closed out by council.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's
Yeah.
still open.
So my question though is that when we have public comment, so we have the forms, and then all of a sudden someone comes up and has public comment about something that was closed out. Does that count to be reopened again, or is that just notes for discussion and an ad hoc? I'm just curious.
I was
think
gonna
it-
reach out to Mike and just have him submit a traffic hazard report form for it, so that, because I feel like he wanted it agendized,
Yeah, you
but
gotta-
there's no real mechanism unless we were just gonna do that based on his request.
Yeah, but there's a real easy mechanism, and it's what you said.
Right.
Submit a THRF, and
Yeah,
it's automatically
so that's what I was gonna
agendized.
say, and
Yeah.
even if it's regarding a current one, then it could be pooled, even if we officially haven't closed that out, which I don't know what the official status is, cause it was so long ago, but we could either run it as a new one, or pair it with the open one and just kinda as a supplement too.
Yes.
Thank you. I was just, just curious on how we want to handle that, and I want people to make sure they're heard, so.
At the risk of sounding repetitive, unless there's something else from the committee, Mark, get your hand off that button. Unless there's anything else, I'm gonna hand it over to Chief Cutting.
Good evening. So I didn't bring in a bunch of statistics about traffic safety over the last many months that we've not been meeting. Instead, what I want to do is I just want to talk about one specific event. And I'm sure all of you know, and I'm sure all of you heard, and when you heard, your heart went to this role and the seats you're sitting in as far as traffic safety. And then that's the pedestrian death that took place last week on the 17th, on Tuesday, about a week ago. I want to give you kind of an idea of what happened, and I'm going to give you a very factual summary of it. I can't get into the details of how we have those facts or the details as to like the measurements and whatnot, but I can tell you everything I'm going to say in my summary is based on facts that were recovered from the scene. To that note, Sonoma Police Department is staffed by sheriff's deputies. We are not traffic experts in general. However, Sonoma Police Department does have 2 advanced traffic accident investigators who have been to all the same accident investigation schools that every other traffic unit, as the San Francisco and every other place, have been through, as well as CHP. Also, we have partnerships with Windsor Police Department, which is another contract city within the sheriff's office, and they have the equivalent number. Actually, I think they have 3 advanced investigators there based on the number of accidents they have. On the night that this occurred, I received a phone call shortly after it, as well as responding myself. I contacted all of our accident investigators, including the one sitting in the back seat here, Sergio, to come in. In addition to the Windsor traffic investigators, we call everybody out. That is a protocol that we have. On top of that, we brought our crime scene investigations unit out from the sheriff's office, which is a 6-person investigations team. They have all the technology, drones, the 3-dimensional crime scene design. They come back with a 3-dimensional structure, essentially, of the accident itself. They take all the measurements, and all the measurements were taken in accordance with all of the investigations processes. We did this we don't normally do this on a typical accident, but based on the fact that there was a death in this. And everything I'm going to tell you in my summary is based on the facts that we recovered from those, as well as the interviews with all witnesses. There were several. There were other drivers in the immediate area that all provided statements for us. Through all of that, the following is what we learned. About just before 6:55 p.m. on the 17th, there was a vehicle traveling southbound Broadway, just south of Patton Street on Broadway. As it approached, and about 150 feet, and again, please do not quote me on measurements, this is more of a general speaking term here, about 150 feet north of the intersection at Maple Street, there were 2 pedestrians standing at the bicycle lane entrance to the roadway mid-block. This is not a marked crosswalk, nor is it an intersection. This is directly across the street from the Sonoma Inn, where these 2 pedestrians were staying. As this vehicle was traveling southbound, Let me also add, it was darkness. It was a new moon, meaning there is zero moon, so there is no light coming from the sky. Street lights were illuminated, and the rain had just begun falling again. So windshield wipers were on vehicles, and the two women crossing the street, we believe, were also trying to get out of the rain, as it had just begun again. As this vehicle was traveling southbound, it noticed the two pedestrians on the side of the road. It looked like they were attempting to cross, so that vehicle came to a stop before those pedestrians. There was another vehicle traveling northbound at the speed limit, or slightly below, and continued traveling northbound as it approached the vehicles that were traveling and stopped southbound. As that vehicle was almost in line with the driveway to Sonoma Inn, two subjects appeared directly in front of that car. That driver reacted immediately, responsibly, and as safely as they possibly could in applying all brake, and that vehicle came to an immediate stop. Both subjects were struck by that vehicle. One subject was deceased at the scene. The other one was transported to Queen of the Valley Hospital. I say that because it's been put out in the newspaper, where that person sustained multiple fractures and several internal injuries, and is still and will remain in the hospital for likely up to 3 weeks. Both subjects crossing the street are visiting our area from Virginia. They are both in their early 70s, and the families have all come out here. The family of the deceased has already returned home, and the family of the hospitalized person are still local. So that's why I try to keep all my comments to the media to a minimum to protect them. That said, I've made it very clear in the media, and I will say it again here. The driver was not at fault in any way. The driver was driving responsibly. We have done all investigations into any potential distractions or alcohol and whatnot, and there is absolutely nothing that was inhibiting this person from driving safely as they were. The driver is an area resident, is a healthy, early 50s female, devoid of any issues that would have caused any slow reactions or concerns of that. Facts of this case are that the driver did not see the pedestrians until it was frankly too late. As we look at any investigation and an accident, we have to look at vehicle code violations and identify if anybody committed a vehicle code violation, because those technically in the accident investigation end up being the cause of the accident or the at fault for the accident. In this case, sadly, the only vehicle code violations that we have identified are related to the pedestrians' use of the mid-block unlawful crossing of the street, placing themselves in the path of where the right-of-way was given to the vehicles. That is a very generalized summary as to what happened. I can tell you that the lighting on the street, while it obviously could always be better, there was no moon, and street lights are in between areas. There was the street lighting would not have necessarily changed the outcome of this incident. There are well-marked RRFBs just to the north. There's actually two north at both McDonald and Patton Street, where they are clearly indicator button push started, and I would refer to as better lit intersections than this point of crossing. Also to the south at Andrew, there's another RRFB with a push button activation for safer crossing. These pedestrians, they're not from here. This is not their residential area where they pass every day to know that those are located in those areas. So I'm not at all saying that to put fault to where they crossed. Many of us in times of wetness, you're getting rained on, and you see where your destination is across the street, and you see somebody stop, you think it is okay to cross. That doesn't necessarily provide the right of way, but likely that's the mindset of a person at that moment. I don't have a lot of answers to the other questions because obviously the accident investigation has to be completed and documented. There are a lot of people that will be looking through that, specifically insurance companies. And those generally take weeks to months to complete. So what I've given you is a summary based on the information that we believe to be true at this point. Are there any questions, anything anybody would like to ask me about it? Okay. That is all I have to report tonight.
Thanks, Chief.
All right, thank you, Chief. And with that, unless there's anything else, I think we can.
I just wanted
Oh.
to remind you that the next meeting is May 5th, and I apologize to Vinny because I forgot to call you for a roll call, and I don't know what happened, so, sorry about that.
All right, it's May 5th. Who is bringing the margaritas is my question.
Oh.
Shall we?
Ha, ha.
All right. All right, with that, we can adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
I got my paper.